All right, prop the mic live at sunrise in Los Angeles. You guys are looking fresh and ready to go. I'm still wiping the crusties out of my eyes over here, but it was easy to get out of bed today because I'm excited for a couple firsts in PTM podcast history. We're about to have our first college basketball discussion on the pod, which I'm looking forward to since I don't really follow much college hoops outside of the tournament. But this is the time of year where I start to pay attention. So I'm ready to sit back and learn some stuff this morning, especially because we got JD, a.k.a. Ghost Bets, on the pod for the first time. JD has been crushing college basketball this season, so super excited to get started. But before we begin, a word from our sponsor. As always, today's podcast is presented by Props.Cash. We 100% could not do what we do without Props.Cash. So if you think you're ready to level up your prop betting game, use code PTM at signup to get 25% off your first month. Welcome to the show, JD, a.k.a. Ghost. Excited to have you on. How you guys doing this morning?
I'm good. It's Saturday. Best conference slate of the year so far. Arguably the best slate of the college basketball season so far. Man, let's go.
All right. Bringing the energy. I love it.
Well, I mean, you're talking to a Butler alum. I don't know if you guys saw the game last night. I think my dogs got the win to get us from the bubble to the end. So, everything's on the up and up over here.
Very nice.
That's good, man. I'm excited. I love college hoops. I actually grew up being a college hoops fan first, and big Duke fan. So we'll talk about that in a second. Sorry about that Butler game years ago. I got my 2010 mug right here.
That's funny. That is funny. I'm just gonna smile the pain away.
Yeah, smile the pain away. But yeah, I mean, we love the young guys in the NBA, and where do a lot of them come from? They come from the college side. So love to learn a little bit today and dive into some of these games. I mean, this is the weekend if you're a college basketball fan to watch. I mean, these are some phenomenal games. A lot of top 25s going head to head. It'll be fun. So,
and even if you've been not watching college basketball so far, this is the perfect day to kind of sit on the couch, watch these games, and kind of just catch up because there's just so many matchups. They're going to tell you so much about these teams, and we'll kind of get into it here soon.
Yeah, exactly. A little early work for putting your bracket together. So
yeah, exactly.
All right. Let's dive into it. We were debating before we went on live what game to start with, and we just said, you know what, let's just go for the home run, the big rivalry game. We got Duke UNC playing down in Chapel Hill. Duke 16-4 on the season. UNC 17-4. UNC is -4.5, which is, I'll just say before we dive into our pick on the game, that's a big spread for a Duke UNC game. These usually come down to 2 or 3 points.
Yeah.
Duke's number 2 in the ACC. UNC is number 1 in the ACC. Duke's okay on the road, 4-2 on the road, and UNC, of course, is dominant at home, 9-0. Yeah, rebounding, I think, is something that's going to be a big edge for UNC. They're number 9 in the country, whereas Duke's number 174. So I think I'll be interested to see if you have any rebounding props today. But let's start with the game. Let's just go right there. Ghost, what do you got in this one?
I'm kind of following you. I don't know specifically about rebounds, but I do think that the Tar Heels do have a big size advantage. You look at their starting 5, following Duke. Jeremy Roach has been fighting an injury, but Coach Shire has said that he's fully back and healthy. So we're going to probably see him back in the starting lineup. Caleb Foster has been starting over for him as like a kind of reserve starter. But with Roach back in the starting lineup, I still don't see how they will match up because they really don't have a wing if you look at their starting 5. Yeah. So that's where I'm going to try to take advantage of the matchup specifically. I have single-handedly not placed a bet. I'm going to place bets with you guys here live on these games so we can kind of talk these out to kind of see, kind of go live. But I do want to maybe target Baycott, Ingram, or Cormac Ryan. And the only I really do, that's perfect. You brought Baycott out. The only thing that scares me is that if you look at his last 5 field goal attempts he just hasn't been putting the ball up. But I think with this matchup specifically in facing Kyle, it's like Baycott, he's a 10-year senior. That's a joke. He's not a 10-year senior. He's just been there for a long time. It's one of the last 2 times you're going to be facing your rival. You're facing them at home. It's like, I know here, if you look at the splits, Harrison Ingram, coincidentally enough, has been shooting the ball more than the All-American Baycott. But I don't think this is a matchup that you're going to let the transfer, kind of outshine you. And I think we've kind of seen that, or I've kind of seen that here recently with how some of these games, especially that game in Georgia Tech, kind of played out. So you guys have any
Yeah, I mean, I think, so let's see how he did versus Duke last year, right? So over the last 3 games against Duke, he put up 23, 14, and 17. So he's definitely amps it up for these games.
No, he does. He does.
But what my recollection, let me see if props.cash is consistent. My recollection is he's a rebounding beast against Duke, who, last year was a better rebounding team with Derek Lively there. But even the year before with Mark Williams. But I think he's number 1 in the ACC in rebounds, right? Averaging 9.9 rebounds a game. And now his line today is 8.5, and he's facing a Duke team that is like, bottom tier rebounding team. I think this is, if I was going to go with Baycott, I'd probably go with his rebounds.
Okay.
Yeah. So you were also talking about Harrison Ingram.
That's why.
What do you like for Ingram?
See, if you look at Ingram's rebounds, it's set all the way at 10.5. Yeah. Okay. Perfect. Yeah. It's set at 10.5. And you look at his split, he is by far the best, and I don't say this with any short terms, but he's the best rebounding forward in the country. That's why you see this 10.5 line, despite the fact that you just said, which is true, Baycott being the best rebounder in the ACC. So that's why I was kind of, it's like, am I going to try to take 11 rebounds on a forward? That's not
so what's causing this little spike over the last 4 games? If you look, let's see, minutes wise, right?
Playing time.
We're kind of dipping, and now he's back on the rise, right?
Yeah, playing time, and we're seeing Coach really just shorten his rotation. Where these are two squads, honestly, that don't play with a big rotation. They play 7 guys tops, and that's kind of weird, especially with your Dukies, knowing how they have a couple 5-stars that are kind of young that aren't playing, but that's another conversation for another day. But yeah, these are 2 squads that play with short benches. So yeah, and I think Harrison did, for our viewers out there, he is a transfer from Stanford, so it maybe did take him some time to get into the Hubert Davis, North Carolina system. But I mean, you look at the splits here recently, it's like he's adjusted to the ACC conference play really well. So
yeah, I mean, listen, what I would probably suggest is play both of them at half a unit if you think they're both in good spots for rebounding. UNC's rebounding 41.6 rebounds per game. Like I said, was 9th in the country. Duke is at 35.9 rebounds per game. So, and I didn't even look at the home away splits, but I got to imagine they're probably better rebounding at home. This is such a huge edge. I would play both of these guys probably over and just ride the recent trend. Don't be scared about all that red on the left on props.cash. Like you said, this guy's like getting into his rhythm now. I think they're both in really good spots. They'll both play 30 plus minutes if they're out of foul trouble. All right. Who else? Anybody else on UNC that you got?
Yes. So I'm waiting for FanDuel to release the correlated parlays and the alternates, but RJ Davis, Mr. RJ Davis points. This is a guard that has stepped up after Caleb Love, which was an All-American guard, senior guard, transferred to Arizona. RJ has more than been willing to take over the reins as the guy for this Tar Heel team. You see his splits here recently. I think when I was looking in capping this, he's been averaging like 15 field goal attempts, and you look at his splits against UNC, against Duke specifically. It's like you look at his numbers and the field goal attempts that he was having then, and he's going to even have more today at home. So I do want to, I think the 21.5 is a little bit out of my comfort zone. I'm waiting for the 20 plus, and I'm going to be parlaying it. Sadly, I hate to tell you, but sorry, Dave, but with the money line,
Here it
in
comes.
UNC.
Here it comes.
Yeah,
Right.
I got a parlay with the UNC money line. Because I really,
Why don't you take UNC plus like 2.5 or something like that? Just to cover if Duke has one of those epic last minute shots or something like that.
I know. And my thing is that this is a rivalry, but I think that if there is a game that Duke is going to take from UNC, it's going to be the one in Cameron Indoor.
Probably, yeah.
Later in this, with such a young squad, I do like the young was Jared McCain, the TikTok star, part-time college basketball player. But just these are going to be probably the biggest matchup for a lot of those freshmen, including Mark Mitchell, who's another forward we haven't really got into, but he's another great forward. That's a freshman. This is going to be the biggest. You can't prepare for this.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think so the first player I wrote down when I was going through my analysis was RJ Davis, 21.5 points. If you look, I love him at 20 even more, right? He's gone 8 straight home games clearing 20 points. So if you can get those alt lines at any of the books, definitely playing Davis with 20 points and putting it with
actually, yeah. I'll wait for that. Yeah, and I'm actually going to be putting a full unit on the RJ because his over 21.5 is minus 110 on FanDuel. They're minus 200 money line. So I'm thinking his 20 plus UNC win should be at plus odds. So I'll be putting a full unit on that once that becomes available.
Okay. I can't say I'll be cheering for that one, but we'll go with it. It's logical, right? Sometimes you gotta bet with your head, not with your heart, right?
Yeah.
All right. Anybody on the Duke side that you're going for in this game?
Sorry, sadly no.
All right. The one guy to maybe target would be Filipowski, right? I mean, he's kind of the anchor of this Duke team. I do have some concerns about him getting into foul trouble. Let's see how he's done against North Carolina. Put up 22 points against North Carolina back in March of last year. And that was at UNC. So he's got some experience with success on the road against UNC, but I don't know. I agree with you. I think
I've been a huge Filipowski guy. I've been writing him a lot.
I saw that.
This whole season. The only thing that scares me is that if you look at how he's gone against some elite defenses, and UNC is an elite defense, he hasn't performed well. So that's the only, and I don't know whether that's a this year thing or just I don't even know.
I think maybe an angle. He is the best rebounder, maybe the only real good rebounder on Duke's team. He's averaging 8.7 rebounds per game, which is right in line with Harrison Ingram. As an overall season, below Baycott at 9.9. So maybe if you want to put a play on Filipowski, maybe you alt down his rebounds if that's available, and you add that to one of the other rebound plays on the UNC side, something like that.
Most definitely.
All right, Tom. Any comments? Any picks in this game? Who are you going with?
Who am I going with? I always like to pick against you, Dave. So
all right.
I would the thought would be UNC here, especially when Ghost is on it too. So I always pick against the Chiefs. That's what we're both Mets fans, so we share that in common. So when we have opposing sides, the Knicks we share in common. So I gotta stick it to them. But the only comment we got in the chat was just asking about Miami thoughts on Miami minus 2.5. So just throwing that out there. We could get to that later on if we want to keep moving through this.
Yeah.
Okay.
We'll come back to that in a minute. All right, let's move on from this Duke UNC discussion. Another great game, perhaps even better game. We got Houston at Kansas. Houston's number 4 in the country. Kansas number 8. Kansas getting 1.5 points at home. So you don't often see Kansas getting points at home. Total in this one is a little lower, 134.5. Houston's number 1 in the Big 12. Kansas actually number 4. And the one thing about Houston is they're only 3-2 on the road, so don't have a great road record. And Kansas is 12-0 at home. The thing that impressed me the most when I was researching these two teams, Houston is number 1 in the country in defense. They're giving up 52.9 points per game. So that's why this total is 134.5. That is insane. That is insane. And I remember they were good like that last year, but they are just elite defensively. So it'll be interesting to see, whether offense or defense wins this game. So what are you thinking in this one?
Full preface, if there was one game to watch today, and you're going to be doing a March Madness bracket or just following college basketball after football season ends, this is the game to watch. I think it's going to tell so many things about both teams. Houston is coming off an overtime win against Texas just earlier this week, and Kansas, don't let Bill Self and that squad fool you. They are fully taking this game so serious. Kevin McCullough, I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right, took the game earlier this week off to rest an injury to get better healed for this game today. And as impressive as Kansas's record in non-conference play has been, they have not been playing that well in conference play. So this is going to be a huge test to see where to kind of align with where the Jayhawks are, because I think we've just been putting the Jayhawks on a top pedestal just because of their non-conference play. So we'll be able to see how they stack up to another team. I think we could see make a run next month.
Yeah, they're 17-4 overall in the season, but 3 of those 4 losses have come in conference play. So they're only 5-3 in the conference. Houston's only 6-2 in the conference. So the Big 12 is just stacked. They're just stacked with great teams.
It is.
And that's why that's why they're all beating each other up, which is great. By the time they get to the tournament, they'll all get knocked out from being exhausted. So all right. So any player props that you got on this?
Yes. One? So 2 guys, both Jayhawks, and you got one of them right up on the board. Kevin. His line is at 15.5, even though he's been averaging 20 points this season. I don't understand. Maybe it's alluding to the fact that points are going to be such a premium today. Yeah. But if you look at his field goal attempts and his splits, he's going to have the production or at least the opportunity to hit this line, because the Jayhawks, other than him and Hunter, really can't. I just don't see how other Self is going to attack this elite defense, basically. And my other play was going to be Hunter Dickinson over 15.5 points. So I'm looking at both of these guys overs, as I think the Cougars can maybe stop one of them, but I don't think they'll be able to contain both of them.
Yeah, if you look at McCullough, his last 2 games attempting 17 and 18 field goal attempts, shooting wise, not that efficient, right? He only had 5 shots in each game. But if we take his field goal attempts, sorry, that's field goals made. Let's go to his field goal attempts on props.cash up to 17.5, or even let's just look at 15, right? So he's attempted that many. He's 6 for 6 this season. So
yeah,
and even if you just look at his overall chart and his games at home, right? He's cleared this in 8 straight games at home. So this seems like a really underpriced line, but
and that's what.
Yeah,
and this sometimes, and I know for our viewers, the green, we see a lot of green, and and it's we want to jump off. That's what kind of scares me, though. That's what kind of scares me. It's like maybe Coach Sampson is going to game plan against McCullough and have just Dickinson eat. That's where I'm thinking I might just split my full unit on Dickinson over 15.5 and Kevin. But if I had to choose one or the other, I would go Dickinson, because I just honestly don't see the Cougars having the personnel to match up with Dickinson for a full 40 minutes. Rather than Kevin, they have a few forwards and guards they can kind of maneuver and game plan around and against.
Yeah, so McCullough seems a little bit more stable, like always scoring around that 16-point mark. Hunter Dickinson is probably more benefits from a good matchup. He's Dickinson was the transfer, right, from Michigan. Is that right?
For Michigan,
Yeah.
yes, Michigan, and Kansas has a true freshman Aussie named Furphy, or I believe he is a 3-point stallion, and he spaces out the floor for the Jayhawks in a way that Self hasn't had here in recent years, and that has benefited Dickinson so much, so much. And I think this is a spot where we can really see Dickinson. Like, I'm not kidding. I'm not saying Dickinson's going to go for 30, but this is a spot where I'm seeing Dickinson and Kevin have both the same line. One of them is going to have the production, whether they win or lose. Yeah. So
McCullough's averaging 19.8 points per game, and Dickinson's averaging 18.7.
Yeah.
So that's the 20 that you mentioned before. So McCullough definitely is the bigger of the two scorers, but you can look like Dickinson has that potential to really go off. So,
I will say Dickinson has more of a resume of playing these big games.
True.
Because this is Kevin's first year being the guy. He came back last year after being a transfer from Texas Tech to be that guy this year. But Hunter's always been that guy. He's always had these kind of big games, marquee matchups. So that kind of is what's swaying me towards him, so I can trust him a little bit more. With our hard-earned money, so he can cash for us. So, yeah.
Yeah, it seems good. I think rebounds is probably another spot. He's averaging 11.2 rebounds per game. So
yes.
I think these conference games are really good opportunities to play rebounds, just because teams come out tight, right? Like the crowds are wild. Like
most definitely.
A lot of these guys, it's their first or second. He's got the experience, but this is his, one of his first, big games on Kansas, against a rival like Houston. So I think maybe a rebound play could be good as well. You can see that you got to pay some juice at -146. But yeah, again, all these plays that we're throwing out there, if your book offers altered lines, these are great opportunities to also bring them down by a point or two and kind of put some combination of these together for a nice little parlay. So, all right. So who are you picking in this game, Houston or Kansas? Kansas plus 1.5, or are you going with the defense?
So the line has actually. So Kansas actually a bigger dog, but we've seen the line trend towards the Jayhawks. And if I have to choose a side, I'm going to take the Jayhawks because I don't. The Cougars are coming off a emotional win, overtime win against I would say a less talented Longhorn team. So to go into Allen Fieldhouse on a Saturday. Let's preface this. This is the first time these teams are meeting as conference opponents, and the fact that they're both top 10 teams, it's gonna make it to a whole nother level. So, if I had to choose, I would take Kansas. I just don't see how Self is gonna let his team drop the first matchup against these two programs that we're probably gonna see at the top of the game. It's the top of the leaderboard for next couple years.
Yeah, that was my feeling when I first saw the matchup. I said Houston, no doubt, because I think Houston is actually a better team. But then when I saw Houston's road record at 3-2,
Exactly.
and Kansas's home record at 12-0, kind of felt like this might be a good spot for a little home victory for the underdog. So we'll go Kansas 1.5, maybe even pay the juice, get that at 2.5 or something like that, and take that one. All right.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. Let's keep moving.
As a Knicks fan, I'd just like to say this is the Quentin Grimes game. Played his freshman season at Kansas, sophomore season at Houston. So that's I got to bring a little.
Wow.
So yeah.
Okay.
So there we go. Nothing to bet on there, but I just thought that was a fun little fact about this game.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. Well, the Knicks are playing today. I was going to say maybe you'll see Grimes at the game, but probably not. No. Unless they traded him, which seems imminent. All right, so that's a 4:00 game, right? The Duke game was 6:30. This one's 4:00. Let's go to the night game. We got Tennessee and Kentucky. SEC battle. Tennessee's number 5 in the country. Kentucky's number 10. Kentucky again, home dog, getting 1.5 at home. Total is 1 59.5. That's a lot for a college basketball game. That's the highest that we're on, of any of the games we're covering here. Kentucky's number 3 in the country in scoring. They score like almost 90 points a game or something like that. What else? Kentucky's 10-2 at home. Tennessee is 3-2 on the road. And they're both, despite their strong records, they're actually number 4 and number 6 in the SEC in terms of the ranking. So they actually have a lower ranking in their conference than they do for their national ranking, which was kind of crazy. So at least, yeah. So I thought that was a little bit odd. But anyway, so let's dive into player props. There's a lot of great players in this game. What are you liking on this one?
I think without a doubt, we have to give our flowers to Dalton Knecht. By far, put himself in the Player of the Year conversation. He's on the national top 20 Naismith watch list that just came out on Monday. You look at his recent splits, he is going off. If you look, he's literally been averaging 30 points the last 5, and his over under is 24.5 in a game. If, like you just pointed out, that's going to be high scoring, because I genuinely do think Kentucky has the best transition offensive team in the country. And even though Tennessee has one of the best and elite defenses in the country, this is a game and play style that is going to fit the Tennessee's best players, style. So I got on Dalton earlier this morning. You pointed out at 21.5, and I still play it at 24.5. Because I think if you look at his splits and you look at his field goal attempts and his recent matchup, he's literally surpassed this line against better defensive opponents. So I just don't. Yeah.
And it seems like over the last month or so, his minutes are up big time, and that's what's contributing to the increased scoring, which is probably from higher field goal attempts. But if you just look, he's going to play pretty much the whole game here.
The whole game, game, and that's what I'm saying. Barnes finally, him being such a defensive coach, defensive minded, he finally has a playmaker and a scorer, which I think is going to be so scary once the Tennessee team gets into the tournament in March. Very, very scary. And I know we were talking about the ACC, but let's not be surprised if we see a more than expected SEC teams make it to the second weekend.
Yeah, absolutely. So in games in which he plays 34 plus minutes, he's cleared this in 6 of 7 games and 6 straight. And you could see he's like crushing. He's getting 30 plus points, which is really no joke in college, right? You're talking about what is it, a 40-minute game in college?
Literally, yeah. That's right. We were talking about this earlier. I get all the Zach Edey hype. I get it. I understand it. But if you watch how this man plays and who he's playing against, the defenses, player of the, in my opinion, player of the year. My play at this point of the season, my player of the year.
All right. I like that. Anybody else that's popping out for you in this game?
On the Kentucky side, this is kind of weird. Rob Dillingham, he's a freshman guard for Kentucky. He weirdly enough, you look at his splits and you wouldn't know that he comes off the bench. Yes, wow. He comes off the bench. So I think this is a matchup that Calipari is going to be playing him a lot more, just because it's going to be a tight matchup. You look at we forgot to point this out earlier, but Kentucky's coming off of a home loss against a Florida team that they were actually favored by like 5 or 6 points. So this is a spot where I don't think Kentucky, I mean, of course they can afford to lose, but they don't want to lose. Dillingham, despite him coming off the bench, is one of Calipari's most trusted guys, even though he is only a freshman. And I think that's something that people really need to look into.
Yeah, and I mean, especially in college, right, where you're talking about 18-year-old kids, right? So like the player that they are back in October may be a very different player that they are in February, right? So looking at those like mid-season splits in college is almost like looking at like a 3-year journey for an NBA player. So you look at his minutes, really towards the start of the new year. 24 minutes, 27 minutes, played only 17 here, but 26 and 39 in that last game against Florida. So I think it's a really good buy low spot. He's on the rise. Intense
Exactly.
game. You'll see what he's made out of, right? A freshman playing in a big 8:30 game
And
like this. So.
and I know you guys are NBA heads, and I'm not trying to compare this Wildcat to this Wildcat, but for any Kentucky fans out there that remember Devin Booker came off the bench. Devin Booker was only averaging 18, 19 minutes, and he still was a top 10 pick. Rob Dillingham is going to be a top 10 pick in this upcoming draft, and he is coming off the bench. That is how talented this kid is. So I know his splits don't look, I know minutes don't look, but as we get into where we call the grind of the season, where these games really actually matter, and these coaches are trying to figure out their rotations before they get into the single elimination dance, Dillingham is going to get 25, 30 minutes a game. And he is, I kid you not, the most trusted guy on that squad for Calipari.
He's an overtime elite guy, which is where the Thompson twins came from.
Exactly. And that's what I'm saying. And for any of you guys that know, like, it took a lot for Dillingham to, you get to go to Kentucky instead of run that route and that course like the top. So, and that's what I want to preface by saying also, I look into the whole NIL because the NIL matters. But I know it's hard to, but it does, because these kids are promised so much to come to these big universities and to these programs that Calipari and some of these, and Coach Hurley of UConn have even stated, I have agents calling me about playing time and why I'm using their player the wrong way. So NIL has completely just changed college sports completely. So and kind of like for the point you just stated, he was on overtime,
playing professionally. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah. Nice. All right. So we talked about points so far today. We talked about rebounds. We haven't talked about assists. So there's limited stat categories in college hoops, but I did notice that you got two really good assisting players in this game. You got Reed Shepherd and Zakai Ziegler, both hovering over 4 assists a game. You got any comments on either of those guys? Ziegler's line is 4.5, and Shepherd is 4.5. Both of them tonight.
Well, so with assisting college, I usually try to stay away from it because in college they really just ride whoever's hot to start the game. So, and we see these coaches run sets. So say in this game, if Connect was to start going off, they're going to start, running sets for Connect, and who knows who's going to be passing the ball or who's going to be passing the ball on a certain set. So assist is a stat line that I usually personally stay away from because there's just so many more factors that go into that compared to, say, the NBA when, we have Tyrese Halliburton that's, averages 10, 11 assists, and we know what his primary role is, so.
That's great advice. My assumption also is the definition of an assist in college is probably way different than the NBA. Right. NBA,
most definitely.
You throw the ball to the guy at midcourt, he dribbles 15 times and scores, and all of a sudden you're watching StatCast on ESPN and it pops up as an assist. You're like, whoa, all right, good, I'll take that one. So probably a little bit more strict the definition in college.
And I will say, with the statisticians in college, they are controlled by the home team. That's what people don't. These are not like the NBA. This is not an NBA official or an NFL official that is a statistician. They are employed by that team, and that's how it goes for every one of these games. So, and there's no stat corrections that you can tweet at NBA official or NBA stats. Like once the game is over, they give it to the wrong, and it happens. I promise you, more than you can think.
All right. So we stay away from assists is what I'm hearing. I like that. Great advice. All right, let's wrap up our last game. We'll go to the 2 p.m. game. So we can't keep us waiting until 4:00 in the afternoon to watch hoops. We got games at 12. We got games at 2. So let's start with let's talk about the Big 12 again. Texas at TCU. TCU is minus 5.5 in this game. Again, 150.5 points in this one. Texas is 14-7, probably the worst team that we're talking about today. TCU 16-5. Texas actually has a losing record. They're number 12th in the Big 12. ironically, 3-5. So they can't get a win really. And they're 2-3 on the road, whereas TCU is 5-3 in the Big 12, 10-1 at home. So this, on the surface, this just seemed like a bit of a mismatch out of all the games we talked about. Everything else seems tight, competitive. This one seems like a TCU game. But let's hear your thoughts.
So I want to look at a player prop. If you can pull up Travion Tennyson, 3-pointers. 3-pointers.
3-point. I like that. All right, let's look at that. Woo!
Oh,
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah. This is a guy I'm going to be laddering all the way up to 4. This is a defensive matchup that is literally going to play to his basket. Literally to his basket. His 2+ threes, it's like -180 right now on FanDuel, but it's -200 everywhere else. So, and if you look at his overall points line is like 12.5. Go look at his field goal attempts to his 3-point attempts. He averages as many field goal attempts to his 3-point. Like he's a 3-point assassin.
Oh man, wow. Yeah, averaging over his last 10 games, it looks like he's averaging close to like 7
exactly
threes a game. And if you scroll up on Propside Cash, yeah, he's only averaging, probably 10 field goal attempts. So let's get the actual numbers. So 9.6 over the last 10, of which 6.5 are threes. So yeah, this is a 3-point specialist, it seems like.
Yeah, and he's shooting 46% from long distance. So I just like this is I mean, when I said we wanted to talk about this game, it's literally because of Travion and the fact that Texas needs this win after that loss against Houston. So I do think they're going to be trying to play uptight, but I love this spot for Travion. Love it.
Love that. Good call out. Any thoughts on the game itself? TCU minus 5.5.
So wow, they're 5.5 now.
I put that last night, so I don't know if that's moved.
Oh, okay. Yeah, last time I checked this morning, they were 4.5. If there was a side I would play, it would be TCU because they've literally been phenomenal in general, but especially at home. And with Texas just having that emotional loss in overtime against Houston, TCU is not no second fiddle. I mean, they're not Houston, but they're ranked in the top 20. They're 26 on KenPom. So the league didn't do Texas any favors with the scheduling. I mean, the Big 12 in general was a tough conference, but this week in general for them, just like the Houston Cougars, is a pretty tough one.
Yeah. They're down to 4.5, which is good, right? That gives us a little bit more value. It does seem like throwing them in as a money line play and any parlay could be a nice way to boost up any leg as well.
Exactly. If you, to be honest, if you want to parlay, I think Travion 2+ threes with TCU money line. I mean, that's a great play in my opinion.
Love that play. Might have to put that one out in the Discord. I love that. Good spot there. Good look. All right, let's. We got any questions, Tom, from the group on?
No, just that Miami minus 2.5.
Let's hit that real quick. I don't actually know a whole lot about Miami. You got a view on?
Hold
on.
Yeah, hold on.
What time is that game, Tom? Do you know?
That's at 12. That's here in about 50 minutes.
Somebody wants to get some early. Yeah. Oh yeah, Virginia Tech. We gotta take a look at that one.
Okay, hold on.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't personally have a take on it. I don't know if you do.
If I had to go with a side, I would lean with Tech, but I'm not gonna put. It's not a game I've really looked into. To be quite honest, but it's a matchup where both teams really need. That's why we're seeing such a short line on the game. But if I had to put, my money would be on Tech.
Yeah. All right. Very good. So,
and if you are taking Tech, take a money line. For whoever asked that, take a money.
Exactly. All right. So I think that does it for our Saturday games. Tom, you got anything else to add?
Nope, I think that's it. I learned a lot. I got some good notes. So when it comes time for March Madness, I definitely got some nice little spots to look at there. So I appreciate you coming on, full of knowledge. It was awesome having you on. Do we have any other picks to give out, Dave? Or we're good, right?
Yeah, we're good for today. We'll certainly run this back in a few weeks, I think.
Okay, perfect. And I just want to give one last shout out. Well, two last shout outs. One to my dogs who yesterday got a hard earned bubble win, quad one win. So we are now should be at least off of the bubble, Lunardi. So thank you. And last you to you two. I know a lot of you. I've gained a lot of followers since the last time we talked, which was at the end of October. These guys had me on as like a featured. I sent out a recording. It was Alfred Singh doing double at Lost.
Yeah.
I was just so thankful for the opportunity. And I kind of like how you guys have grown in the past year that you guys have, been kind of doing this. I've grown in the past 4 months, and it's been because of the help of guys like you in the community. So I just want to give my thanks and shout out to you guys, because my growth is in thanks and partly to you guys. And you guys kind of just showing me the way of how to do things in such a transparent and, way that I'm trying to, do it. So I just want to say thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. And, you two are guys that I continuously are following and learning from. So for me to be on this podcast, I kind of told you guys this earlier. I do everything in my life intentional. And me being here with these two was intentional as well. So thank you guys, and I appreciate this opportunity.
Very kind words. Thank you. Appreciate that. It was awesome having you on. Great picks. And I think everyone's going to enjoy some games today. I'm going to watch a few college basketball games today, I think, now with this little bit of extra info. So great work, guys. Again, great having you on. Guys, anyone out there that's not already, give My Ghost Bet a follow on X. And
Thank you.
Let's all make some money today, boys.
Let's go.